Welcome to a moment of intriguing introspection beyond the realms of fear, hesitancy, and doubt. A deep dive into the questions of the ages shared with the courage that may challenge perception, yet teases open the expansive depth of conscious awareness. This is a rare and unique moment in our collective history. And beyond all sense of dogma, I am Master Lady Kira Raa, promising to call forward the essence of all that you are. Join me as I offer the latest self-ascension revelations with supportive wisdom. And why not remember that peace, love, and joy are your birthright? So this is the moment to bring your hand to your heart and to give yourself the gift of relaxing into a deep breath with a wondrous exhale. I look forward to joining you right now in another episode of Expanding Consciousness. Welcome everyone to Expanding Consciousness. I am Master Lady Kira Raa, and it is such an extraordinary moment in our collective human history. We are at that time where if we can just sit back, take a breath, and pay attention, it would only invoke the smile of knowing. That smile that calls us forward and says yes. It comes from a space that is so far beyond the mind. It comes in from the space of consciousness itself. So taking a moment and just relax into that. And as we get ready to go on our journey this evening, I really want to welcome you. I want to welcome you to this library of information on consciousness, on our ability to evolve with the awareness that we're actually doing it, to be the commander of this moment rather than simply the one who is whipsawed by it, to remember ourselves in the eyes of each other, to embody the essence of I am as you are. Many years ago, I will never forget when 𝐴𝐴𝐽𝐿, and I guess it really wasn't that many years ago, but it was about 22 years ago, when 𝐴𝐴𝐽𝐿 first started flowing through this body of form, and my beloved Ascended Master Wisdom Teacher Sri Ram would be so furiously writing in journals and trying to get everything copied, and we'd be ensouling sometimes 2-3 times a day. But it was when those words, sacred union, first came in. Those were our early days. That's when we were still living in my home up in Boulder, Colorado. And it was before we even purchased 𝐃𝐨𝐧'𝐭 Ranch. We remember Sri and I met online at the end of late end of August 2022. First got together in Sedona the end of September, and he moved in November, and we were married January and stayed together literally till death do us part in this form. And then the sacred union, those words, sacred union, took on yet an even a more expanded form, which I certainly didn't know was possible until Sri said, I will take the final step so that we can accomplish this, that this gift of sacred union can honestly be offered for all to receive. So I'm sharing this with you today because we're at that moment. We're at the moment where the feminine and the masculine are rising, where the relationships that we have experienced, whether it is in our own experience of the journey, whatever's going on inside of us, what we witness among others, what we see happening around us on a global level, on a universal level, it doesn't matter. What matters is that your consciousness is expanding, that you are evolving. And in that comes that moment of presence where you really get the opportunity, and that's really what it is. It's an invitation, it's an opportunity to go deep within and really decide, am I really ready to be and live in, with, as of sacred union? Or is there a resistance within that is still attached to the outer illusion that is still attached to that which seeks to take you away from your truth. Because the reality, if we even want to use that word, right? Because everything here is just a construct of our illusion. But the quote perception of this reality would tell us that lots of definitions need to be adhered to. Lots of ways of being need to appear because that's what this world wants you to conform with. So, so really take a moment. I want to take this step by step because it's really valuable to understand it and to really see it through the lens of the five medicines, to remember that the energy of the five medicines is the extension of sacred union. It is the aspects of sacred union that are coming forward from the consciousness that we are. And this is often why so many spend their lives feeling that they are unwhole, that they need something or someone else, that there is something outside of the self that is going to satisfy every single experience of what a perception of love would be. Because it's the way that love is brought in through this experience that really brings us into the depth of the recognition of what sacred union is. Remember that love is at the essence of it all. Love is who we are. Love is what we have always been. Love is why we take form. Love is why we release form. It's all love. It's all an aspect of consciousness itself. And in the totality of that, in this field of this potentiality that we have collectively chosen to be in and come together this way and count time this way and view each other this way and form bodies that look this way and have hair that grows or not and nails that grow or not, or whatever beautiful color we have placed on this body, all of it is an aspect of love. And all of it is at that eternal seed of sacred union. Sacred union is the journey home. Sacred union is the pathway of authenticity. You know, Sri and I first published our very first book, Sacred Union, The Journey Home, was published before we even got married. We had been together 3 months, and 𝐼𝐸 came in so quickly and so fast and said, boom, boom, boom. And that book is still out there. It's still printed. It's still in print. It's in its, I don't know, 12th or 15th edition. If you have not read it, pick it up and read it. Because that book, as 𝐼𝐸 said, it was written with the words specifically given and not to be altered, so that the level of consciousness that was ready to receive it would receive it. And it is the foundation of the yoga of self-ascension, which is essentially the summation of the perennial philosophies, the Huxley experiences, everything that says at the end of the day, if we look at those perennial philosophies, and we know that the ancient rishis and sages already had this all figured out in the 1st, 2nd century BC. We're just returning back to those conscious fields, right? And this time it's among more of us. But what they had figured out was that, number one, there is this ever constant, there's this constant beneath this world of change, right? And that once we tap into that, and that's consciousness, that's the description of consciousness, it's that constant. It's the ultimate sacred union. It is that constant knowing of the presence of that which I am as you are. Sacred union, it is that knowing and bringing us into that yoga of self-ascension is at the end of the day, and this is where sacred union brings us. This is where relationship brings us. This is where partnership brings us. And stay with me, because I'm inviting you to expand your perceptions and to allow yourself the depth of going beyond, thereby expanding all those that you are able to experience and go beyond with. So what is the purpose of life? Well, as the perennial philosophies would have shared, as 𝐼𝐸 made so clear, it is the yoga of self-ascension. The yoga of self-ascension, the purpose of life, to be able to fully and with complete cognizance remember the truth of that which you are beyond the self-sabotage fields of fear, doubt, and hesitancy while you're carrying this body of form. My beloved Sri used to say it so beautifully. You don't need to die to ascend. And that is why he transcended, to show that in the essence of divine sacred union, I am, as you are, able to hold the unified field of that sacred union presence in conscious awareness of divine partnership outside, and I'm going to call it the lasso, outside of the lasso of what we traverse in this world, often known as relationship. So bring your hands to your heart for a moment. I want you to really breathe that in, because that can be a moment. That can be what I just said. You'd be like, Kira, what are you talking about? And I really understand that. I really understand that you would be like, hey, Kira, what the heck? So here's what I want you to get. Feel this, see this, right? Call this in. Remember that sacred union is not about a physical partner. Although frequently in this realm of potentiality, a physical partner will come in. And when it comes to that sacred union journey, once you have integrated as the unified field, you are then able to be in union with another unified field. It is the only place where you can meet, in the center of consciousness itself. So that's kind of the catch-22 of the unified field. When you become, as I am, the unified field in full consciousness, then you are now the commander of the medicines. So let me go back to a moment about distinguishing between partnership and relationship and how these medicines work with that. Because in that distinction, as we are in that moment of okay, partnership, relationship, what is the nuance? What are you telling me? What's happening here? Well, here, let me just offer you this first and foremost. Sacred union, which is the unified field. And when Sri was in form, he and I demonstrated that. We walked that in physical form as a living reminder, as a living example of what two union souls coming together in sacred union outside of relationship in the harmony of true partnership. We modeled that so that others may do the same, living a very non-traditional by the realm of this world life, and yet by whose realm are we defining normal or traditional? We lived together in physical form, the embodiment of sacred union of two bodies. And then when Sri transcended, he gave us all the gift, every one of us, including myself, of being able to now witness a unified field in a body of form. When Sri was walking the planet, we were one soul between two bodies, a male aspect and a female aspect, yet each one of us carried the balance of masculine and feminine. It was only our bodies of form that reflected that in any other experience. In and of itself, the two of us together were a multi-layered experience of two beings that are themselves masculine, feminine, coming together in one masculine, one feminine body. So that through the transcendence of that physical form, the ashes to ashes, as Shri's ascended presence lifted on January 22nd through the release of that physical form back into the ash, all that he carried, all that he was, came into me. Now, it took me 7 months to integrate that, to really accept and integrate that, because I myself was unaware of what was happening. It was the ultimate moment of sacred union. And it was the entry into what I now know is phase 5 of our journey, crystalline consciousness itself. Crystalline, and I'm going to be talking about these 5 phases in upcoming shows quite a bit over the next few months. The reason I'm sharing this with you so deeply is because in my fully unified presence, I am now able to again stand by a physical being in their fully unified presence, but unable to meet them anywhere except in that field of consciousness where we are all supported. As you have been on your journey, looking at your physical, remember I talked about it, let's call it a lasso. Well, what gets that lasso going is actually you. You are that crystalline consciousness. You are that eternal sacred union. And in that love and that expansion of love, in the being of love, you send out what I like to call the fishing line. And that comes out of the heart of love. That is the emanation of the sacred sequence of incarnation. Now, again, I feel like I need a thesaurus, right? So sacred sequence of incarnation, go watch that show. Go look at Expanding Consciousness, go to the archives, write at amfm247.com, go to my YouTube channel, type in sacred sequence of incarnation, watch that. Because it's the sacred sequence of incarnation that pulls that, I call it that fishing line. You throw that first, you're throwing that, casting that first line that hits at the physical. It's that love that says, I want to feel, I want form, I want to know, I want to touch this, right? I used to touch Sri, and I do miss that. I used to touch Sri all the time. That poor man was touched constantly because we came to touch, we came to hug, we came to hold, we came to be. And then we came to feel in a way that carries a presence that can only be known through the physical. And this is why the physical is humanity's 12 o'clock hour. It's where we begin. And then because we want to feel, that line that you cast that went straight out from consciousness and hooks into that physical, then starts its lasso effect. It starts being pulled. It's the same line, and it's all coming out of you. It's all coming out of your conscious awareness. It's all coming out of your eternal nature. And that wants to feel. And that's that phase one moment. It's the physical into the emotional. It's that movement through the feelings and movement through all that is the physical and the emotional round together. And this is when our love is first expressed, right? It's our first moment. It first comes in the fact that we have a physical body, the love of a physical body, which then becomes the addiction and the attachment that we're afraid to let go of, and thereby becomes our entrapment. And we get further entrapped because we're so afraid of letting go of a physical body that we then trap ourselves more through that feeling. And that's when love first starts falling. Remember, from the physical to the emotional is actually humanity's fall. It moves us from knowing our divine essence without any fear, doubt, or hesitancy. And because we want to feel so much, we take that physical body into its emotional journey. This is where we believe that we are not enough. This is where we think we need outside validation. This is where we start doubting. This is where fear comes in, the fear of being safe, the fear of being alone, the fear of not being enough, the fear of not being whatever insert enough means to you. This is where we get entrapped, where that lasso has gone from the physical to the emotional, and we start believing and calling into ourselves relationships. Now, this is really valuable and important to understand because it's in those relationships that we fall again. Because we've had this physical with the emotional, but then because we start entering into these relationships which are expansions of ourselves, they're saying, love me, help me, take care of me. All of these relationships become the food that navigates victim consciousness. Because it is through those relationships, there's always an inequity in a relationship. There's a lack of trust in relationship. There's a need for validation and proof in relationship because there is a sense of not being enough entering into that relationship in one way or another from whatever space. And in a planetary thought body that is consistently being fed the energy of fear, we have developed and the dogma to support victim consciousness. So victim consciousness is what? It is a pyramid. It is a triangle that must have all three legs to work: a victim, an abuser, and a rescuer. Victim, abuser, rescuer. Really breathe that in because it is that triangle that then sustains the circle or that spiral, the inner spiral of fear, doubt, and hesitancy, fear, doubt, and hesitancy, fear, doubt, and hesitancy. Because what do those do? Those are the self-sabotage. So relationships are frequently based upon fear, doubt, and hesitancy. You want safety. This is what dogma. This is why we have savior dogma, because you're looking to be saved. Rescuer. right? Thereby there had to be a victim. Thereby there had to be an abuser. Think about how conveniently dogma sets you up to stay in relationships that will entrap you. And that's why that emotional mental phase is really powerful, because that's where relationships occur. And these relationships are extraordinary. And every one of them is a balance for both. Every relationship you are in, whether it's a relationship with your body, a relationship with a being, an animal, it doesn't matter. Every relationship is carrying the seeds of partnership and inviting you to find them. And this is what happens is when we arrive at that mental, and we've been having all these relationships. Are we learning? Are we not? Is the mental justifying? I remember the greatest gift in my life was about 3 months, excuse me, before I met Sri. It might have even been less, where I finally sat down and I made a list, and I said, okay, this is my perfect partner. And for the first time, I knew I wanted a partner. And I knew I couldn't compromise anymore on things that I had compromised on in my own sense of lack of self-worth. I wasn't going to compromise on someone who wasn't also a vegetarian. I was tired of smelling meat, feeling the pain of it, feeling the death of it. For me, that was an issue, and so I knew in my experience of life, I really needed to be with someone like that. And I wrote down everything that I knew outside of my own beingness of a me, meaning that it had been that moment where I realized, I had been in 4 marriages, and every one of them was really the same thing with just different languaging and a different person. But at the end of the day, what had been in common with every one of those marriages was me. And I knew that if there was going to be any sense of a being with a partner, it had to be on equal grounds. It had to be someone who was not afraid of the fact of who I am, and that I was not afraid of them either. And when that clarity came in, when I realized that the only thing I had in common with everything that had ever gone upside down was that I was in the same relationship, trapped in the same patterns, when I was able to smile and transcend that and see that, Sri showed up in less than 3 months. And he and I, when we got together and started talking, had pretty much lived the exact same life, going through the same experiences, coming to those same extraordinary conclusions at the end of the day. The essence of what in me invited this to be able to smile, transcend, thank, and witness it. And so that's what lifts us into that moment where the mental lifts up to a greater spiritual. And that's when what many people call karma comes in. Because when we're more conscious, when we're consciously guiding ourselves, when we're aware of how we're interacting with all, we start seeing that a relationship only perpetuates inequity. And that partnership sustains and promotes and really champions equanimity. And that's when we arrive at that trampoline. And that's what Sri and I did together. We arrived in that trampoline at the same time and both took the leap without looking back. Because when you take the leap without looking back, you're able to bring it all back into this instant moment. You become the living essence of the law of instantaneous manifestation. You call forward the knowing that, of course, my eyes are your eyes. Of course, I am as you are. Of course, there is absolutely only the blessing of the wholeness of the one with the other, the essence of sacred union. Bring your hands into prayer position right now. Put them in front of your heart. Allow your head to just bow with the grace and the gratitude and the joy, the knowing of the essence and the being of the sacred union of your soul with this body of form right now. Breathe in your nose. Always relax out the breath. Imagine, whether it's a spouse, a friend, a colleague, yourself, imagine giving yourself permission to, with every breath, with every moment, to only see the absolute highest potentiality of every single being around you. Everyone. Every being you come in contact with, meet them seeing their highest, meet them holding them at their highest. Because in those moments, when we go far beyond what we believe a relationship is, when we invite through sacred union the discovery, we become so filled with the partnership that is beyond relationship. It is the space where consciousness is, and I want to meet you there. Take in a breath, bring in a smile, and know that you found this because you already are ready. Partnership is a gift that expands your awareness. And when you're able to accept it with the self, when that lasso is able to be commanded, we take in a breath by imploding, bringing it all in. Thank you for every piece, every molecule. And then we explode with the radiance of the law of instantaneous manifestation and the divine sacred union that is met by consciousness itself. I am Master Lady Kira Raa. I am the unified field of Sri Ramkad Kira Raa. I look forward to meeting you right here in the field of consciousness itself, where together the sacred union expands. And this extraordinary moment that we are co-creating is filled with others like myself as a visionary of a positive future. I am, as are you. Catch me the first of the month right here at Official Sri and Kira at YouTube Official Sri and Kira, for the monthly predictions, all the self-ascension of revelations, and the recognition of being together in the knowing beyond any fear, doubt, and hesitancy. With all my heart, many blessings. Thank you for joining me on Expanding Consciousness. Learn more about the Yoga of Self-Ascension at 𝐟𝐨𝐫𝐞.com, and make sure you're subscribed to YouTube Official Sri and Kira. Remember, you are the gift. I love you and look forward to being with you again. Namaste.